Delighted to have everyone join me today, in particular for this very special guest. Someone who, this is a fangirl moment for me. For anybody who's watching knows, I've been following Anna May McHugh for many years. She is the queen of the ploughing, dare I say, queen of the agri sector. So I'm delighted she agreed to join me on Reintroducing the Art of Conversation. So welcome, Anna May. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me with you.
Yeah, delighted. Now I'm gonna run through, for the very few, Anna May, who might have never heard of you, which when I say very few, has to be very few, or perhaps have never heard of the National Plough. We'll go through it later on, but I just wanted to give everybody a little heads up on who you are and where you're coming from. So, as I said, Anna May McHugh, the Managing Director of the National Ploughing Association. You grew up on a farm in Ballylinen. Am I pronounced that correctly?
Yes, some people call it we call it Ballylinen. A number of people call it Ballylinen as well.
Well, I'll go with the local dialect of, say, Ballylinen then,
yes.
Because people in Laois won't let me in the door in the county if I pronounce their Ballylinen incorrectly. But you worked with the National Plough for over 66 years now at this point, serving as the association's secretary for over 20 years, and then in 1973 was appointed the managing director. And for anybody, as I said, who might have not heard of the National Plough, this started off as and we'll hear from you, Anna May, in terms of how it has evolved over the years under your managing directorship. But it has become Europe's largest outdoor agriculture trade exhibition, hosting over 300,000 visitors over 3 days. You are the driving force behind this spectacular event, and your daughter Anna Marie works alongside you. We just seen her off screen just a moment ago, and you also have a son, DJ, who is a farmer. So agriculture is the world you've grown up in and live in. And not only is she very busy organising the largest outdoor agricultural trade exhibition, but you've also released a book in 2018 called Queen of the Ploughing, which you talk about your story and where you come from and really what has guided you to this point. So my first question for you, Anna May, is, I'd love to hear, some of the highlights that you've had over that 66 years journey, and you're still young. There's many years, and I can only imagine that National Plough even growing further and further.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm a long time associated with the ploughing, of course, and having been reared up with 5 brothers and 2 sisters on a farm, I did understand agriculture and ploughing very well. But when I started as secretary to the founder of the association, the late J.J. Bergen from Athy, County Kildare, I just went in as an assistant to him when he was running the National Ploughing. In the earlier years, it was just ploughing competitions only, and you had 9 or 10 counties taking part, and it was all horse ploughing then. And, as the years went on, he had great foresight, J.J. Bergen had. The National Ploughing became a limited liability company in 1956, and then I was made secretary at that point of the company. So, for a number of years, it was just horse ploughing, and I remember the records show that in some of the, I know particularly in one national event, there were 91 pairs of horses taking part in the competition, horse ploughing only. And then in the late 40s, we saw the tractor appearing, and of course then there was the tractor ploughing. And that went on then into later years, and I was always going around to shows trying to get ideas, and I did. And to get them through and passed by our association was another matter, because our National Ploughing Association is made up from a director from each affiliated county ploughing associations, and that consists of our National Council, and we have every county in the Republic represented. So, when I could see that interest was growing in the tractor ploughing, and then I thought that we might get a few exhibitors in to exhibit their machinery. And I remember well starting off with 25 exhibitors,
Okay.
and now today we have up to 1,700, but we'll go to that later. 25 exhibitors meant a big thing, a big attraction for people to come, particularly the men folk, because there was nothing there at all for the women. And, you went along to the secretary's office, a small little tent, no floor, and a little school case, which are a few details in it, and then top numbers for the competitors and things like that. So later on then, I could see that when I was made managing director in 1973, I could see that there was a need for more, but the machinery sector was growing all the time, because one tractor manufacturer might see another one that was at the ploughing and that he wasn't. But having said that, it was all men. And I remember well, in 1984, I remember well, I'm after jumping now, but the exhibition was growing all the time, but there was nothing there for ladies. And I could see there was a great need for other members of the family to get out for a day's outing. It was only a one-day event in the early years. Then we went to 2 days, and then there was a necessity to go for a 3-day event. But I remember going back to 84 and I suggesting at a meeting of the National Council that we have a fashion show. And my story will go, and it's true to say that there was one director stood up and said, "Chairman, I thought it was a ploughing competition we were running." So I went out deflated when the meeting was over. But I remember in the hotel going down the stairs, I said to myself, I am going to have a fashion show. And we did. And of course, when it was held, and it was a success, everybody wants to be associated with success.
Yeah.
It went very well.
I'm sure there was no talk of that meeting that where people were saying no.
Yeah, and it went very well. And to this day, it's a 3-day event now. And we have 3 shows on each of the days of the ploughing. And the marquee is always packed. And it was really an attraction for the ladies to come. Yeah. And we went on from there when it was a success. And we decided in 88 to have a livestock exhibition. And that started so simple that there were a few sheds on the venue of the Ploughing Championships. And one guy out of the blue suggested, why not bring in a few cattle and we have a livestock show? And that's how that started, and we did. And that is hugely, hugely successful. I know today that people come just to see the livestock because they're top class and all the breeds are with us. And then following that, we had our event, and going on to the 90s now, that was the livestock. And going on to the 90s, when on another venue, the owner of the venue was involved in horses, very much in horses and hunting and all that. So we ended up having pony games and hunt chase. And all of that time, it was bringing its own clientele to the event. The attendants were getting bigger because we had more attractions. But then we have shopping arcades. We erect 2 huge marquees for everyone to display. We have a business one, and we have one where you can buy a wax coat or a silk scarf or whatever, but they're all indoor. So really, the variety of trade stands changed dramatically over the years, to our benefit, I have to say, because it brings every member of the family. And not forgetting the young people. We have a carnival event away from the business side of it, and that occupies the children. And we have other little games for the children as well. So families can come and really enjoy themselves.
Well, I was just going to say there, because, and it's a question later down, but, every time I've gone to the plough, it is your what you would imagine a traditional a farmer, male or female, but you have young people who are going school tours. You've then little kids who are going around and with their parents or guardians. And then you have, the business who are, folks that are coming in to buy and invest in an area or a new product, very innovation and research based, which I thought was extraordinary. Like, did you see it at that time, from a national, plough to what it is now? And dare I say, I mean, I know in the bio share there, it's Europe's largest outdoor, but surely, international attendance is also there beyond Europe and beyond our country. Was that always the vision to grow, or as you say, was it more organic?
No, I would say, yeah, well, if I would say no, like it wouldn't have been our vision really in one sense. But on the other sense, J.J. Bergen, who was the founder of the National Ploughing, in 1952, he was one of the 4 people who founded the World Ploughing Organization, of which we are an affiliate. And there are 33 countries, 33 countries affiliated to the World Organization. He was one of the 4. They met in Cumberland in England. And the 4 people decided that they would try and organize the world competition. They did successfully. And the first event, the first president of that was a Canadian. So the first World Ploughing was held in Quebec, in Canada. And the vice president was J.J. Bergen. And the second one, above all places, it was held in Killarney, which was usual for visitors to come and visit Killarney. And that was held in October in 1954. So really, it was an expansion from the national to the world. Then the European started, and we're connected with the European event. But even as I'm saying it myself, there's no national event in any other country as big as the National Ploughing in Ireland. And people, they recognize that very much.
Yeah.
But having said that, the National Ploughing today is a shop window for people to show their products in the hope that they'll get sale for them.
Mm-hmm.
And here I would have to say that Enterprise Ireland has been wonderful as a backup. It's the 11th year that they're running the Innovations Award. And that they bring in buyers. There were buyers there in 19 from 21 countries, which was massive for the National Ploughing. Now, that was something we never envisaged, but it was great to get them on board. And, they wouldn't have come on board unless they thought it was worth their while. It was recognition for us.
Absolutely. And I was about to say, I mean, your focus on always promoting and showcasing the best of the Irish, be it agri, be it plough, be it animal, or be it produce, or be it personality, because, there's so many different, it's just a brilliant, organization in the sense of it's a really catch-all. Networks are growing. You never know where a conversation will lead. And then the fact that Enterprise Ireland has these specific hubs that are promoting Irish produce is phenomenal, particularly for, and I say that to those that are coming out of this pandemic that we've all lived through and have buckets of ideas on their kitchen table ready to go, and that might be scratching their head going, but where do I find the avenue? And I think the National Ploughing Championship, an organization as a whole, is a great, North Star in order to get to the place that you want to showcase the best of the best, and have buyers come in and really invest in your business and your idea and your produce. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It gives them an opportunity, and they're missing out on that, I can say, very much last year and this year. And they have said that to us. They've come on the phone and sympathizing with us in a way that, knowing where we're coming from, that we have to be careful and that we can't hold the exhibition this year or last year. And having said that, it's also a very educational event. You have a huge number of colleges there, and you have 12 or 13 departments that are all there to answer questions from the young people that's tomorrow's future.
Yeah.
We have a very big number of colleges attending the event, and it was great to have attractions for them. And I remember in 18 or 19, I'm not so sure, I remember a bus load coming, and I just asked them where they were from, and they were a school from the middle of Dublin, and their first visit was to the livestock. It was absolutely amazing. I was so glad to hear it, and it's encouraging for us.
Yeah.
But at this point, I have to say, it's just not me. Unless I had a national council that were so strong and supported me, I would not have been able to do this.
Mm.
I often listen to an expression that my late husband used to say, a bird never flew on one wing. Yeah. And certainly I apply that, because unless I can say that I can ring up any member of our national council and say, I want you to judge a ploughing competition, or I want you to mark out plots for me for ploughing, or do something else. I have never, ever got a no.
Well, you don't say no to Anna May McHugh now, Anna
No,
May.
well, no, but I didn't. And well, I find too that you always have to respect them and to respect their views and to listen to their opinions.
Yeah.
And maybe you may not agree with them today, but tomorrow you might say, well, there was something in that I can learn from. You'll never stop learning, really.
For
And
sure.
and when we go to different places, and you're always looking for ideas and try and implement them if it's necessary, and that you're always learning. I know you probably know that too, and you learn from your mistakes.
Well, to your point there, every day is a school day, particularly, I mean, in any career change or moment or conversation. And I love the way you phrase that, Anna May, because my next question is around women in business. Both you and your daughter have a very close hand in highlighting, supporting women in the agri sector and beyond. And what do you feel we need to do? Me as an MEP, as a young farmer myself, to promote diversity in the agri sector. And I know you're really keen on mentoring and supporting. And as you say there, every conversation could lead you to a learning point or a next step in developing the national plough.
But haven't we come a long way, Maria? When I look back, when I was made secretary of a limited company, it wasn't heard of then. Women were not to the fore at all. And when I used to get a phone call, they thought it was a male they were speaking to, and I'd say, no, it's Anna May McBrennan with my maiden name. And, they were nearly afraid to ask me a question that I wouldn't know. But we have come a long way since. We have a lot of people in our banks now, and in Glanby and all those places now, FBD and in government as well. And the more we have, I think maybe girls and women were nervous of going that far. But I can say positively that if a lady is given a job, she'll see right to the end of it. She'll complete it.
Yeah.
A man might go, maybe I shouldn't say it, maybe 2/3 of the way and leave the finishing touches to somebody else. But I believe the women today are great. They're well educated. They're well able to take their place and to be confident. It's all about confidence in yourself and your ability to do it. And if you have an application for a job at all and you feel that you're able for it, go for it. Chance it anyway. And you might, 9 times out of 10, you will be successful because you have to have confidence in your own ability. I feel that the mentoring is wonderful and there's great opportunity for that. If you take 20, 30 years ago, maybe that was not there. But women were very much in the background. Sure, even when nurses and teachers married, they had to give up their jobs. But that's all gone now. And it's wide open for women to be out there to the fore and to be very, and have proved themselves very careful, very, very capable.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd love to ask you, coming from that is, how did you overcome and evolve the status quo that the agri sector was quite male dominated, or yourself moving from secretary to managing director? What was the greatest lessons and challenges you overcame?
Well, I have to say though that the biggest challenge was to convince people that I remember well, and I go over this phone call to you. When I had a phone call from a guy that wanted to know something about ploughing and rules and regulations and all of that. And he said hello, and I said hello to him and all that. And he said, could I speak to Mr. Brennan? And he thought that I was a Mr. And I said, sorry. I said, I'm not a Mr. I didn't say Miss either at that stage. You didn't like calling yourself Miss, but anyway. I said, well, he said, no, I'm all right. I said, I'm all right. I'll try something else or somebody else. And I said, do you mind asking me or telling me, I said, what your query is? And he did. Well, I said, I'll give you the answer. And I gave him the answer. And then he was all apologies. He phoned the next day to apologize that he thought he was speaking to a Mr. Brennan. But mind you, now it was difficult enough at times in the very early months of me becoming secretary. That I was a woman, and I suppose if I had been a male, maybe I'd have got a lot of no's. But because I'm a woman, maybe they were saying, look, we'll respect her and we'll do the job for her or whatever. Difficult enough in the first year, but particularly in the first year. But then again, you got that respect as you moved along. And I always say, you don't get respect unless you earn it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll agree with that. You have to earn respect for yourself, and yeah, you have a profile there. You have a standard to keep. And no matter what would happen, I would keep my own standard, but I will say this, when I was appointed managing director in 73, I was frightened at the thought. J.J. Bergen was managing director of the company, and he was followed by the Kilkenny man, Sean O'Farrell, who died suddenly in September of 72. And at our AGM in 73, I never expected it. I was happy enough to be secretary. But in May of 1973, I was appointed managing director. And I'll tell you this, I was so frightened, talking about having confidence, that my pen refused to write down my name.
No.
Because so many men, there were 4 or 5, had put in their names to become managing director. And one of our executive committee had met the executive a week prior to that. And they decided, and they told me after, that no one knew the association as good as I do. I knew it inside out. And he was going to propose me as managing director. And then there was no opposition. So that's how I became managing director. But coming home that evening, I said, God, I'll never laugh again. This is a weight on my shoulder now. And it was for a while, but then I got used to the title, and I said, well, should I do know more than any of the others, because I've been dealing with it firsthand, and I got confidence in myself and went ahead.
Phenomenal. And was it difficult for you, from a family standpoint? Did you find even your friends or peers were, there she is with family and kids and work in a full-time, very demanding job at that time, Yeah,
it had grown so much all along the years, and I grew along with it. If you like, from 17 onwards, like I grew along with the event and saw it, come to the stage that it is today. But my husband was very understanding, and I had 2 in family, and then my brothers were supportive too. I had 5 brothers, and they were all farming, so they were very supportive. But it's lovely when somebody comes to you, and that when they see you up on the platform at the ploughing, and you know what it is.
Yeah.
And they say, I remember coming down off the platform one day, and this lady said to me, haven't you a lovely job? Well, I said it was hard work to get that far.
Yeah.
And that's the answer you give them. People think it happens overnight. It doesn't. It's hard work to get there. I never counted the hours. I never counted the hours I put into the work.
Well, I was going to say to you there, Anna May, I remember over being in your presence. It must have been in 2014 as International Rose, and someone was asking you, will you take time off now? And you're like, no, as soon as this finishes, we start getting ready for the next year, or we already have started working on the next year's plough. And I was like, wow, that there's no let up when you want to grow and you want to be successful, and you're bringing many brands to the European and international market, then there is no let up. You were 365 days, no doubt, working.
You were, and many midnight hours too. When you're coming near the event, as you can well imagine yourself, and then worrying. And then on the mornings of the competition, the first thing I do, wherever I'm staying, if the venue is far away from home, I would always draw the curtains very early in the morning to see what the weather was like. But it is.
I'm sure many.
Responsibility.
I'm sure many of the Child of Prague got put out by family, friends, and yourselves over the Ploughing Championship.
Absolutely, and sometimes we have very severe weather, and it means extra stewarding and all of that, and then when you're blessed with fine weather, everybody's in good humour. Yeah. But I would say that exhibitors have been very, very, very good to us in supporting the event year after year, year in, year out. And, and the ploughing association, the members, the competitors, they're very important to us, because if we didn't have the ploughing and the competitions throughout the counties, there wouldn't be a national event,
Absolutely. And then to because I'm conscious I'm eating into so much of your time, but my final question to you, Anna May, is looking to the future post this pandemic that we've all we've all lived to, and we've seen 2 national ploughs being postponed. And what is the next steps from you and your team there? Because I certainly look forward to seeing and being a part of and witnessing the National Plough in September 2022. Unless you're about to tell me that we're going to get the green light to go ahead in September, which I'm hoping happens. But what is it post-pandemic that we can be most excited from? How can we help you? And ultimately, my final thing before I forget to say it, if anybody is going to the plough, taking from what Anna May just said there, make sure you actually go to see the plough in all its glory, and then work your way around the many different stands, because I think sometimes in the years I've gone to the National Plough and I haven't seen a plough at all, which is a bad form of heritage and celebration of me culture.
Yeah, and before I go to 22 there, I'm just going to say that we are hopeful that we can run the actual ploughing competitions this year in September, from the 15th to the 17th September, and adhering strictly to guidelines that were given. But the people of the ploughing competitors are just mad to get out to plough again and competing against one another. And then in 22, we're definitely keeping the flag flying, and we'll raise it a bit higher for 22 and have the event in all its glory, with exhibition. And so many people have said, look, we are giving you our assurance that we will support you, for 22. And in 23, we are now hopeful, which we should have had this year, that we will get the World Contest in County Laois for 2023. And that will be a huge success with the different countries. And while we hold high in the world ploughing, because Anna Marie here is General Secretary of the World Board, but we have been very successful in the last number of years with our competitors. So we're hopeful now that we're getting that in 2023.
Fantastic. So mark the diaries, and fingers crossed, as you say, you get all our ploughers and yourselves get the green light for September 17th to the 19th. You said, Anna May, wasn't it?
No, the 15th to the 17th.
Right. 15th to the 17th. I'm spreading information there after listening to you. 15th to the 17th, and hopefully our ploughers will still have the competitive edge. No doubt. And just trying to get out and get moving and get meeting people safely again, and get back to the pastime and their job that they love. So hopefully that will go ahead. With that, I say, Anna May, I'm so grateful for your time. Is there any parting words that you want to leave us with, be it around agriculture, women in agriculture, supporting local?
Yeah, and Maria, you have wonderful lady farmers now, girls that are farming, and they have been very, very successful. And the more that we get into government, the better too, because, what's there at the moment, I have to compliment them, and they're difficult for the last 2 years, they're making decisions and that. But the more we do that, because we're well able to take our place with any of the men and any of them, and to get ministerial posts too is very important. And good luck to you and on your MEP position. It was a great achievement, and delighted to know that. And it was great to get the Rose of Tralee as well. So I look forward to meeting with you. And, just to say about our own National Council, they've been so helpful, so strong. And to say that the camaraderie between the ploughmen is absolutely, it has to be admired. Wonderful, even though that they're out there trying one to beat the other, but the camaraderie is wonderful.
Yeah. Fabulous. I mean, amazing. And to all your points, I wholeheartedly agree. I think when we start seeing more of the 51% female population represented in many different areas, and as you say earlier on, having that confidence internally to put your hand up and get involved, and stand up for yourselves, I think the better we all will be going forward, and making sure younger generations are coming more and more involved in our agri sector, or be whatever area they aspire to be. But with that, I say, Anna May, I'm so grateful for your time and your sharing, and I really look forward to seeing you in person again, going around in the cart, pointing fingers, making sure everybody is adhering to what they need to, and the jobs are getting done. And I always imagine you're the first on site and the last to leave, over the plough, because you are, as your book says, the queen of the ploughing.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you. Delighted.
Delighted.